So I'm talking about some of the C++ topics that you should know in the programming, and they also become important because they are taken as it is into the VBA language. So when you look at VBA programming for Excel and other programming languages, having an idea about C or C++ gives the interviewer some insight that you can still handle those VBA codes or R codes or MATLAB codes. So the first block you can see on the northwest is variable type. Then you have branch, loop and statement. So these branch and loop, switch and block and scoping and boolean values like true or false. This becomes important in if you talk about C++, they remain as it is. If you talk about VBA, they are playing around with ranges and arrays and things like that. Then functions and procedure abstraction, user defined function, value and reference parameter, polymorphism and overloading, procedure abstraction and good programming, splitting programs into different files. So polymorphism and overloading are again two topics that you should have a look at. Then you have Filestream, not much given here, but there are many times you have to open a comma separated file or some other file in various languages, so a little idea about that also helps. Input and output using Filestream and useStream. So here we are talking about C and C++, stream as argument to function. So the idea is that if you have got a CSV file, if you open that with Excel, it might take a lot of time. So reading only those lines with a reader becomes more efficient, because you don't want to really take all the time, load everything into your screen and do things like that. So using an SQL makes it fast and more interesting. Then you have arrays and string. Two-dimensional array are important because in everything in VBA and Excel things are in 2 dimension. Sorting the array are important because the different type of correlation analysis that you run requires to rank these kinds. So for example, if you are running a Spearman correlation, which is rank correlation, you might require those sorting and some play around with them. Then you have pointers, which is declaring pointers, the star and new delete operators, pointer arithmetic, automated dynamic variables. Then you have recursion and iteration, mechanism of a recursive call, recursive data structure and quick sort. Then the concept of class, more towards encapsulation and inheritance, constructors, friends and overloading operations, static members. So sometimes when you want to build a skeleton out of something, you might require those constructors. This constructor concept in C++ is taken as it is into MATLAB, which where you would make those interest rate models, and you want to get that skeleton and feed up those values. You don't want to define a lot of them. Then you have numerical methods like approximation of a PDF or a CDF, a different kind of a normal distribution and how to play around with them. Solution of linear system, the Excel has the solver, but you should know how to solve with them in the C++ in the most basic way. Again, MATLAB has got functions that would do this indirectly. Then you have numerical integration, the power method, the explicit and implicit finite difference method like Fourier PDEs and Monte Carlo methods. So some of the questions would be what is the difference between pointer and referent? When you use each one of them, what do you mean by static? Now in the VBA, when I was using, you have some static function that you want to define, then that would be used everywhere in the VBA, not just that subroutine. Constructor and destructor become important to create those skeleton. What is constructor, deform construction, copy constructors? What do you it mean to declare a member function or virtual stat? Virtual inheritance, polymorphism, which is the most difficult program you want to. The other programs would be some intermediate program like a non-virtual method used in base class, overriding a virtual method, virtual function in base class, overriding it. How would you define linked list, write a function to sum 1 to n, reverse doubly linked list, or binary trees and Fibonacci series. So creation those series or adding up those sums become again some of the interesting question. These are important because when you are making those custom features in VBA and you don't have help, then you can do that. So most of the time this checks whether you are good enough to do those complex things or not. So one resource that people recommend is the ParaShift C++ FAQ Lite. This is PARASHIFT.com, and some of the questions that you want to look at. So this would help you to get those answers. So this was very quick about the C++ part. So basically what we are trying to do here is to look at the C++ part, or if you look at the broad interview level, you would still like to have an idea about C++ part, because most of the time they cannot check you on VB and MATLAB, so they would check you there.